flower friends, Nicole from Flower Hill Farm, and it is evening time. There's supposed to be a storm coming through soon. The winds have been whipping, so hopefully the audio will be okay on this video. But I've had some questions about succession planting, and that's something that I've talked about a little bit in my Gladiolus video and maybe another vlog, I'm not sure. But succession planting is what you can do to lengthen the time that you have something in bloom, and also you can use it as like a crop rotation to make the most of your space. So what I succession plant is a number of things. I've been succession planting for years when it comes to my vegetables, but this is kind of only the second year that I've been doing it for my flowers. Last year I succession planted my Gladiolus, and not on purpose, my Dahlias, which Dahlias are not something that you need to succession plant, because once Dahlias are blooming, they will bloom for you all season long as you keep cutting on them. So that's not something you need to succession plant. I just did it last year because my stuff came in at different times, so it was like an accidental succession planting because my orders were delayed on a couple of things. So I succession plant sunflowers. Once a week I am planting 450 sunflowers, which I don't want to plant too many because I don't know what my market's going to be like, but I feel like between my CSA and the interest that I've gotten from every time I post bouquets online, 450 a week is pretty reasonable for me. Maybe next year I'll do more, depends on how people react to the sales this year. I also succession plant Gladiolus. Now I have been doing that since Mother's Day. On Mother's Day, my first set of Gladiolus, and our last frost is until the end of May, but you can plant those corms a couple of weeks before your last frost because they take that long to kind of develop and start to come up out of the ground. So I also succession planted my lilies. Now that's something that you can do to extend the bloom time of your lilies. If all of your blooms come at once, you're gonna have a quick rush crop and then you're moving on to something else. All your lilies will bloom at the same time and you won't have anything else in 3 weeks. I have a total of 750 lilies. I only have 550 in the ground so far. I have another 200 because lilies take, 60 to 75 days for bloom. So what I like to do is calculate my final frost date and count back. Okay, my final average frost is September 18th. Let's count back 75 days and make that the last time that I'm going to be planting to make sure that my final succession planting is going to be able to bloom before the frost comes and kills my plants. So I have calculated that. I believe it's July 15th. Let me check. July 5th it says. So I'd like to have all of my things in the ground before July 5th, and that includes my Gladiolus because 75 days from then is my average first frost. Last year our first frost was 2 weeks later than average, so you never know. The winds are really picking up. It's probably windy right now. It feels really good though. It's really nice. Okay, so another couple of things that I succession plant are my zinnias. So I started zinnias, I'll have to look up the exact date, but I started zinnias inside. Oh, it was really windy. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to hear any of this because the winds are really whipping. I've got a new microphone and it's been doing well, but between the road traffic and the wind, man. All right, I'm gonna move, maybe get some more shaded area. Okay, this might be a little better. I'm a little protected. I'm closer to the tree line. In with my baby silkies. Is my phone ringing? No, it's just Candy Crush notifications. I'm not even playing Candy. I played it like once last week, so now it's trying to get me to play every day. So anyway, what I was talking about, look how crooked my camera is. Hello, this is me. I'm wearing them. Hi. A little better. Okay, so I, come here. Oh, they're awesome. If I could have just bearded silkies and their eggs were bigger, I would just get bearded silkies because they're just cuddly and I love them so much. I actually have two that are my favorites. You guys see them in my videos all the time. Anyway, was I talking about zinnias? So I transplanted them into the ground. They'll also bloom like crazy through the season, but I'm probably gonna do one more succession planting of a few hundred of those and get those in the ground in 2 weeks. So I'm gonna start them from seed probably tonight, and then put them out 2 weeks from now into the earth and let them grow as well. Probably the cactus dahlia, I like those ones. Okay, so I am by no means a professional on succession planting, but I'm learning, I'm trial and erroring. Is that a thing? Trial and erroring? I'm learning by trial and error, and we'll see what works for me this year, and we'll see what doesn't, and we'll change and make changes for next year depending on what happens this year. Things that you do not need to succession plant. I already mentioned dahlias, which, by the way, is it dahlias or dahlias? Because I hear it pronounced multiple ways by different gardeners across the country, and it's killing me. I've always called it a dahlia, but everyone, like, some people say dahlia, and I don't know what it is. Is it like regional? I know that H is in there, so you want to say dahlia, but everyone just says dahlia. And also, I say clematis. I say clematis, and I've been hearing people pronounce it a different way. And what is it? Clematis? Clematis? I don't know. They're pronouncing it weird, and I can't stand it. Which one's right? Is it clematis or dahlia or dahlia? Vote here now. Vote. Just kidding. There's no voting thing. So anyway, I'll show you what I also succession planted was my snapdragons. This is an experiment because I planted probably 800 snapdragons. I lost some. Not all. I still have a few hundred that I started way back in March. And I pinched them, and I did all the things you're supposed to do, and I think I let them get too dry one day. A chicken pooped on my leg. There's poop on my leg. Oh man, now I have to shower. Thanks, chicken. Poop on my leg, story of my life. Snapdragons. I lost some, so it was the end of March I started, no, it was April, like April 3rd I started more, and those are ready to come out. So I'm going to show you those and the difference between the ones that I started months ago and the ones that I started about 6 weeks ago. Downstairs grow room. Here are the snapdragons that I started way back when. I believe it was April 20th. Yes, it was April 20th. So it's been, what, 6-7 weeks? So these guys are ready to go out. Here's the Dusty Miller that I started and forgot about. So I've got to get this outside too. It's gonna be fine, but definitely needed to be outside a while ago. While I'm down here, I might as well show you, this is basil that I succession planted. So this I planted probably just about 2.5-3 weeks ago, and I have 2 trays of it. I have this tray, and I have another tray just like it. And this was, remember when I said I had, well, if you watched a previous video of mine, you remember that we had 2 random 90-degree days that popped up shortly after I put out my Mrs. Burns lemon basil and fried them to a crisp. So I freaked out and said, oh, I need to plant more. So I sowed these 2 trays, and these are just old, these are chicken breasts came in these originally, and I just save them and I do my soil blocks in them, and they fit perfectly. So these are basils, Mrs. Burns lemon basil, and if you never smelled it, it's so good. Okay, so I'm out here near my row of snapdragons, and these are the ones that I planted a couple of months back and put into the ground shortly after my last frost. They have gorgeous side shoots. I pinched a lot of these, which forces side shoots to grow, so you have more blooms. Look at this plant. It's got 3 giant stems coming out of the bottom of it. I'll get a close-up so you guys can see it. But I want you guys to see that these plants were this size 3 weeks ago when I put them in the ground. They've only been in this ground 3 weeks. They've gone from this, and let me try to, here's a nice itty bitty baby one. They've gone from this, I'm not gonna pull it out of the ground to show you, but to that. Let me zoom in and show you how nice and sturdy these stems are. zinnias. And the bigger ones are on this end. Those are the ones I started first. And I planted way down at the end of the row by the house. Those are the smaller ones. Those are the ones that I started just a couple weeks ago. Okay, so these are the lilies behind me. I had planted them in nice even rows. Starting, these ones are the oldest. I planted 2 rows, and then a week later I planted 2 more rows, and then a week later 2 more rows, and then all the way over there on the side is 2 more rows, and then all the way back behind them is when another series of rows starts. So I thought that I had planted them in nice even rows, but I see that as I like shoveled the dirt over top of them, they started to settle and they shifted a little bit. So they're not as beautifully lined up as I wanted them to be, but that's not a big deal. I don't care what they look like in the field as long as they're perfect when I cut them. And that's another thing that people get confused about flower farming. They say, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so beautiful. Well, not if I'm doing it right. If I'm doing it right, then the flowers are not going to be blooming in the field. You cut lilies when the first lily bloom starts to color and crack a little bit, right? The first one on the bottom, and then you cut it. So I'm not going to have a field of lilies or a field of gladiolas like everyone thinks. Things like are different though with the dahlias. You cut the dahlias when they're almost fully open. So those things are going to be a sight to see. Don't get me wrong, there is going to be some beauty here. The wildflower field, a lot of times the bachelor buttons are fully open when you cut them. There are several varieties of flowers that are fully open when you cut them, but several more are fully closed, like a daffodil or a tulip. So don't mind the Bio 360 flapping in the wind behind me. So anyway, that's a look at where my lilies are. Okay, so I got distracted because a fox just ran through my cousin's yard and he lives next door to me. So I'm kind of setting up the camera waiting for the fox to go through mine. So it might not, but anyway, I just wanted to also talk to you guys. So I was gathering some wildflowers today, and I was using my plant app to see what they were, and because I didn't recognize some. And this in particular, I was curious about. It's actually called false baby's breath. And so I was doing some research, and some people have been using it successfully in bouquets. So I cut some. I'll throw a picture of the bouquet that I made up of wildflowers, and I had some calendula blooming, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So I love it. So I'm hoping that it holds up okay in bouquets. It's been like 4 hours and it's still holding up. So fingers crossed that I wake up tomorrow morning and it's not limp in the vase, because that's the worst. I know a couple of them that I picked are going to be limp in the vase tomorrow because they're not for picking. They're just pretty and I love them. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna check out this fox, and if I find the fox I'll put a clip on there, but I don't think I'm gonna. Anyway, I have more to talk about with succession planting, and I'll throw up right now the gladiola video that shows I planted gladiolas 1 week apart, about a couple hundred a week, actually like 300 a week for several weeks, and I'm going to be doing that through, like I said, I think July 10th, July 5th through 10th, I'm going to cut it off, and just so I can be ensured that everything's going to be blooming during that time. So I'm going to go on a fox hunt, and I will talk to you guys later. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And have you used false baby's breath in bouquets before, and have you been successful with it? Please let me know. And if you guys ever want to see any other videos or want me to trial anything, give me a shout and I'll do my best to make it happen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.